Hey everyone, I'm Rafi Salem, back with MX Data in our Digital Fireside Chat with Megan Grove. Today we have Mike Dorland from Global Payments. Let's just kick it off by wishing everyone happy holidays. It's the end of the year, so happy holidays, happy new year. Megan, please introduce yourself and MX Data. Tell us what you have going on for the holidays. And then Mike, star of our show today, same thing. So Megan, take it away, please.
Yes, thank you so much, Rafi, and thank you again for hosting. So I'm Megan Grove, the customer engineer at MX Data, and we are here today to talk to Mike Dorland, who is the Senior Strategic Partner Manager at Global Payments Integrated. And what we're going to be talking about today is the evolution of Global Payments and how that relates to Retail Pro and the evolution of Retail Pro and their versions up to the most current version of Prism. So as everybody knows, what we've kind of been talking about is, payment solutions are very popular right now. There's so many options for retailers, and it's very important for us to be able to educate, especially our Retail Pro customers, about all the, changes that have come and what we have to look forward to. So Mike, thank you so much for joining us, and I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Well, great. Thank you so much, Megan and Rafi. Again, my name is Mike Dorland. I'm the Senior Strategic Partner Manager for both Retail Pro and MX Data. At a high level, I manage the interactions between our organizations to make sure that we continue to provide best-in-class product and service for you and your customers. So today, what I wanted to do is just talk a little bit about the last couple years and look back at some of the things that we've been through so that we can focus on some trends that we're seeing for 2023 in the retail industry. And hopefully that will help you guys shape maybe what your goals and objectives are for 2023, or at least think in a new way about some approaches you could take to your business. So obviously, if we look back here, we're approaching January, the beginning of 2023. For many of us, January of 2020 really started the beginning of a whole new era in retail as we look back to the pandemic and all the things that we had to do to react in that time, and the jolt that it took to our industry, businesses not even being able to open up. Certainly that impacts how you're going to hit your goals and the bottom line. So through that time, everyone had to be resilient and do the best that they could. And in many ways, we were all just doing the best that we could. There was a lot of struggle through that process. But through that, we did have some positives. Number one, I think we all recognize that the use of NFC or near field communication became a much more prevalent way to pay for something. And for those of you that are not sure, that means using your Apple Pay, your Google Pay, just using the chip on your card to tap and go, so to speak. That functionality became forefront as we looked at both merchant and customer safety and a way to minimize risks when worrying about contact with infectious diseases and the like. So what many people don't know is that technology has been part of the payment system for over 15 years. That feature has been available. It just took that type of event to make that something that we all saw the practical needs and purposes to it. And I would say that was one of the biggest changes that we saw. And through that, we've actually kind of built on the tap to go feature with other features that have grown upon that. And it's really helped become part of an overall omni-channel approach to your business and how consumers want to pay and interact with your business. So the last 2 years, there were a lot of challenges that we were able to overcome. But now we look forward to 2023, and there's a few trends that I want to point out for the retail industry going into 2023. The first is we look at customers are expecting to purchase when they want, how they want, and they're depending on you as the retailer to curate the right products and services to give them that experience. And while that may sound like a daunting task, that's what Retail Pro and MX Data and Global Payments Integrated together are trying to do. Bring those components together so you can offer that to what the consumer is looking for. And so that means the second point would be, you as a retailer have to start taking risks to look at different business models, going out and branching into areas that maybe you had not thought of before. but also adapting new technologies and services that help you become more efficient and, even more important, more accessible to your customers so they can interact with you on their terms 24 hours a day. And then the last part is the way that to achieve all that is what I mentioned earlier, is making sure that you bring together the right set of omni-channel tools to be able to meet that demand, that new demand from customers as they look for other ways to engage with you. As their own personal habits shopping have changed, we now need to meet them where they're at. So I'll pause there, Megan, and I think that I'd like to focus on those for the rest of the conversation and share some stats and a little bit about what Global Payments doing. But I'll stop there if you have any questions.
Well, you brought up a really good point, and the key buzzword, especially since the pandemic, has been omni-channel. So what we are also trying to do is educate retailers on what that means for them. What are all the different channels that they can sell merchandise, meet the supply and demand of customers, and like you said, really be available 24/7 to allow consumers to purchase. So can you just talk a little bit about what are all the options for omni-channel with payment solutions and how that ties back into our customers who are using Retail Pro, and let's try to help them understand what that really means.
Yes, and I think before I kind of list off what some of those features would be, I'll share a few stats with you that I think will be important and quality information to kind of set the stage for that answer. First of all, Wakefield Research is performed a study last quarter, to try to identify the trends of 2023. And in doing that, they surveyed over 1,000 customers and 500 retail owners and managers, just kind of about what the trends are and what they're seeing, and got some very candid responses. So I want to share some of those with you. The first is 72% of retailers use or plan to use automation to decrease staff members' hands-on time. So right there, we're trying to already look at not only can we do things to increase the revenue we produce by sales, but how can we utilize the people, staff, and resources that we have to help reduce costs, but also at the same time give a good customer experience. So that with 72%, we can see that that's weighing heavily on the retailers' minds. We have costs going up, both with labor and goods, and we need to find ways to continue to hit our revenue numbers and goals. So this is one way that you need to start thinking about doing that. The second number that I'd like to share is 42% of those retailers currently or plan to sell products via text or chat. Again, we talked earlier about having to look at new technologies and ways of doing business. I'm sure that there's many people, especially in the retail world, that may think that is not a viable channel in which that they're able to do that. But we already see 42% of the retailers surveyed are already looking in that direction. It exists currently in the marketplace. And you as a savvy business owner or manager need to start thinking in those terms, because it is a viable option and a viable channel that you could be losing out on potential opportunities. And then the third one that I really want to share, and I think this kind of brings the point together, is 33% of the retailers surveyed felt like they do not know enough about their omni-channel options. So 33% were open and honest enough to share that feedback, but I'd like to think there's probably more. I think a lot of retailers get stuck in business owners in general feeling like they know enough and they have the pulse on everything, but sometimes you don't know what you don't know. And hopefully by having these types of conversations, we're able to help get you thinking about things in those ways so that you can start bringing in new opportunities to your business. So as we kind of set the stage there, what do you need for omni-channel? And what is Retail Pro and MX Data and Global Payments Integrated doing to help that? Well, I'm excited on a few fronts. When we talk about omni-channel, we have a few different things that all employ together to bring a circle, if you will, of ways that your customers can interact with you. So the first one is going to be your standard in-person, face-to-face transactions. Obviously, we've all been doing that for years, and we're all comfortable in that mode. Secondly, you have online or e-commerce payments. So that can be whether it's a key transaction over the phone or into a virtual terminal of sorts, or whether you're doing true e-commerce where your merchant is interacting with your business through a website. Those are the two most common ways, but it goes even further than that. Within the e-commerce channel, you need to be able to accept payments if you're using different softwares. And that's one thing that Global Payments Integrated and Retail Pro are working on for 2023 is, for example, two major shopping cart providers in the marketplace. One is Magento, the second is WooCommerce. They're very popular e-commerce platforms that many merchants start out on and grow their business with. And we've worked with both of those companies now to create integrations so that if you are using e-commerce within Retail Pro, you will also be able to integrate and use that plugin so that you're able to share all of that data that's being done online, along with the information that's happening in store to create a full omni-channel experience there where a customer can buy online, return to store, and you have everything fully tokenized so that the cardholder data is safe. But it allows you, through Retail Pro's efforts with their POS system, to be able to find and look up those transactions without a card, create credits instantly, ship things out to the merchant without having to ask. It just gives you a lot more information, and it gives a personalized experience for that consumer. And that's really ultimately what we're trying to do with the omni-channel approach, is just give them every way to interact with you. And if you curate those experiences and make it about the customer and make it easy for them so they have to do less to make the transaction happen, I think that's what we really need to focus on. And that's one example that we're looking at for 2023, is that shopping cart integration to be a next step forward to creating some of that.
Yeah, you brought up a good point. Oh yeah, go ahead, Rafi. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, with the stats that you gave before and with the information that you're giving now, are we on par to, as an industry, to double or triple and see more and more transactions in the next year or next time period?
Yeah, and I think specifically where you want to see that is going to be in your e-commerce transactions. And e-commerce can be many things. And let me give you another example where an e-commerce transaction can actually be a hybrid of in-store and e-commerce. And another example of innovation that we're working on, and Retail Pro is helping us with this, is we're working on a method of QR codes within our store or within your store, a merchant store, that would allow them to start their checkout experience sooner so that they can pay for their own merchandise in store, a version of a self-service kiosk, if you will. And the way that methodology works is by scanning the QR code and finishing the checkout process within their phone, they're able to actually create a payment mechanism where the POS system will send a text to that consumer. They can be in store, they could be out of the store, but either way, by scanning that QR code, you're able to initiate the buying process and have a link sent to you in your text so that you can pay via the text right in the store. And that means you can employ the use of Apple Pay and many of the other wallets that already reside on your phone. So now there's no pulling out a card. You don't even have to do the tap and swipe. You don't have to swipe a card. All of that information could be already in your phone. And again, that's just making the sales process easier. But we're using that through our e-commerce platform technology in initiating those transactions through that, even though we could possibly be in store.
Yes, I want to comment on that. So when you were just mentioning, the different ways that omni-channel can go, but where it really started was with brick and mortar, right? And retailers being able to understand that in today's world, you really need to engage with the customers and obviously be available, like we've already said, 24/7 to meet the needs. But one thing that I want to really hit home on is with the brick and mortar sales this year through the end of the year are supposed to be up 42% in brick and mortar pre-pandemic. So brick and mortar is actually more popular, is driving more revenue than it was pre-pandemic. And I think it's because what we know is it closes the loop for all this omni-channel, because you are giving your customers the availability to buy anywhere through an app, online, or in store. But then what's happening is they come to the store. They come to the store for returns or for exchanges or, buy online, pick up in store. And then it's, repeat customers coming back every time. So that was important. But the other thing I want to mention too is the mobile options for retailers that they have with the Genius devices. So as we're talking about being available and just being able to help people check out faster, there's these new wireless devices, the credit card terminals that allow retailers to have employees kind of spread out throughout the store to help line bust and also just be able to help customers check out faster. So any feedback on that, Mike?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that you're right. As I mentioned, using the tools of e-commerce to kind of create that omni-channel experience, and it could be in store, it does become a wheel. And we think omni-channel, I think of a big circle. And so when you have all the spokes to that wheel and you allow your customers to come in through one of those channels that they prefer, then as you said, it leads to interactions through others. And the more that you create seamless, easy, curated experiences for your customers, the more they'll come back and find you via the other channels. People want to shop when they want to shop, and sometimes they're out and they're able to stop in, but because you've built up that brand recognition, they want to do that and they'll go out of their way. But if they're not around or able to, you provided other options for them to be able to do that. So at a high level, that's great how omni-channel works in that way. And to your point, Megan, it does lead to that growth in in-store sales because you've done the work, you've created that experience that allowed them to shop when they wanted to on their terms, and now maybe they're willing to come spend more time with you in your store. But then once they get there, again, we need to make that a positive experience. And so what we have currently in the Retail Pro line is we're currently working with the Verifone Engage devices, of which they have one that is a small device, the E285, that is able to connect to tablets and give you, so if you have an extension of your POS on a tablet, you're able to plug into that. And as you mentioned, you have the line busting capabilities and you can do payments anywhere you want within the store. And you're able to have a variety of receipt options, whether it's via email, text, or just a standard receipt through the main point of sale cash register. Now, what's exciting, while we have that right now, we're even going to build out more options here in 2023. We're looking to bring on an Android tablet that we feel there's high demand for in the retail space, bringing that as another solution to Retail Pro and its customers. We also are bringing on a true wireless terminal by Verifone that could have dual purpose, where it can be line busting in nature, but it is also cellular based, so that it can be an offsite solution, and it has a built-in receipt printer. That's another mobile/wireless option that we're going to be adding in 2023. So we've recognized that we feel like, because the consumers are asking more of you as a retailer, we need to provide more options in store with the different terminal devices. And then if I add on top of that, the development of QR codes that we have coming into play as well, that will be a few different ways that a consumer will be able to pay in store that is different and separate from just walking up to the counter and standing in line. So we feel very excited that we're going to be able to meet those needs in 2023.
So I'm very curious, because in all that we've talked about in omni-channel and how easy it is for consumers and for brick and mortar and for online to do business in now and in the future, the old school part of me is thinking, where is the security in all this? And that brings up other challenges. But with challenges, you also have opportunities. So where do we stand with security, challenges, and opportunities now and in the future?
Well, I think that's an excellent point. And sometimes security takes a backseat in the conversation because we want to look at the fun products, features, benefits, the things that make the transaction happen. But without security, we're all at risk. But security in our mind is the first thing that we look at when we develop products and services. And so we've done a number of things. We've always been a leader at data security, and Retail Pro has done an excellent job since day one. They've been a day one partner with legacy companies that are now owned by Global Payments Integrated. So we have a wonderful working relationship. And from the very beginning, the key and the main focus of building the POS system was to make sure card data was outside of the POS environment, so you do not have card data within your networks in your store. And what that means to you is that if a bad actor, a hacker, if you will, tries to penetrate your systems, even if they were able to access the POS your hard drive, your network data. There's nothing there from a credit card perspective for them to gain that data. Furthermore, we've built on top of that, what made legacy Cayenne and Merchant Warehouse when Retail Pro first got started was our Genius solution, which everyone is familiar with in the industry, and it's been a staple of the Retail Pro POS system. I mentioned earlier the Verifone Engage devices, and those devices, we've spent the last 2 years redeveloping all of our API. So now that all of the information is housed on those devices, requiring even less interaction with a POS system. One of the things and features that has the most impact with is Store and Forward, a tool that was utilized by many enterprise merchants within Retail Pro, but wasn't as accessible for small to mid-sized businesses. And with our Engage series, we've been able to put that information onto the device so that if you do lose network or the ability to gain an authorization, we can still process transactions and then upload them to the network later. In previous versions of Retail Pro and with other Verifone devices in the past, it would require that information to be done on the workstation, thus creating an exposure and a risk from a data security standpoint. So that's a great example of how we continue to evolve that data security. And while we want to make things fun and easy and capture the engagement, the security is always in the background, in the forefront of what we think of as a payments company.
Great. So Megan, we're going to wrap things up. Any final comments with everything? The thing that's going through my mind is that we're getting to a point where like you were saying, Mike, there's a QR code on a product. I walk into a store, I touch my phone to it, or I don't even do that. It like reads the Bluetooth. I don't know how the technology works.
It's like smarter than all of us.
Yeah.
And then
Seriously.
we walk into a store, we take it off the shelf. There in New York City on 42nd Street, where my pre-pandemic office used to be, there was an Amazon grab and go store, and you could just walk in and walk out with it in your hand. So you talked about security, but I'm curious, Megan, what does MX Data consult on these practices to other companies? And then Mike, I'd love for you to address that, and then we'll wrap up things with events and closing statements.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, MX Data, the consulting piece of this comes into, the options and availability to what Global Payments is offering consumers right now through Retail Pro. So we communicate all of those updates, new announcements, any kind of security things that need to be communicated. We do that on a consistent basis. And that's kind of like the extent of like our consulting piece to this. But I mean, that's really all I had for today. I really appreciate Mike being here. And of course, let's mention NRF because you're going to be there. So all of our customers can come see you. Yes.
I am. And I'll just add what you say there, Megan, before I close with that. As your customers come to you, we take the feedback from MX Data and all of the Retail Pro resellers. And quarterly, we're getting feedback from Retail Pro trying to shape our products. We look at Retail Pro as really not just a long-standing partner, but we collaborate, we test. They're often the first to try new products in the industry. So I say that to let you guys know that anything that you want, the things that you're looking for, questions about things that are coming down the road, send those up to Megan and the team. And they'll get those to us, and we can include those in our conversations with Retail Pro, because we want to build, along with Retail Pro, a POS system that works for you. And we need that feedback. We can guess and use these statistics and trends that I've talked about today, but getting the true user feedback is invaluable. So I encourage everyone to do that. And then to your point, Megan, yes, I will be at the National Retail Federation show this year. Global Payments Integrated does have a booth. Forgive me, I don't have the number memorized yet. But please look for us if you have more questions. We'll be happy to answer any of the questions about our products, but also Retail Pro. I would be the best person to talk about the payments integrations into Retail Pro. And certainly there'll be other resources from Retail Pro to help and assist with questions as well. So excited to see everyone there. If you're going, please look for us.
Yeah, and then just as a follow-up to this discussion, just so everybody knows, we will do a webinar, which will kind of go through the 2023 roadmap for global payments integrated and kind of what that looks like going forward. So be on the lookout for details of a webinar after the new year.
Okay, just to wrap things up, Mike, I just went to the website for NRF. I believe you're at booth 6861.
I'll take your word for it, Rafi.
So if anyone is looking, if they're looking at this video and they're like, I wish I knew their booth, it's 6861. And the opening party is January 14th, and the conference and expo is January 15th to 17th, 2023. So thank you very much, Mike Dorland from Global Payments, Megan Grove for MX Data. Once again, I'm Rafi Salem with MX Data, wishing you, once again, happy holiday season, happy new year. May it be a healthy, successful year in retail and online for all of us.
Thank you.
Thank you.